What the heck was that? Oh, yes. This tastes like that conjured crystal water in Dire Mall where the mages get their exclusive waters for free 99. Mage, give me more. I'll take 14 packs, a couple glizzies, and some french fries. Much love to you, sir. Back up, don't get two-pieced in a biscuit. Editor, write that down and send it to somewhere in a foreign country and then tell them to email me back 3 weeks later. Much love to you. However, though, I hope everyone's having a good day. Don't get packed up. You know the deal. Everybody in chat will get shot in Minecraft. YouTube family friendly. Please forgive me. However, though, I hope everyone's having a damn good day. Much love to you, and I hope everyone's having a damn blessed one for sure. We got a lot to discuss today in terms of, an article that came out for Wowhead, but also a lot of other things that I want to go over. Your boy wrote some notes today. Who would have known I would have been writing some notes like a news reporter? However, before we continue this WoW video, please check out the link below. Rested XP, your guide through all of Azeroth and your conquests through any journey you need to make a little bit more easily accessible for yourself. Use the link below, support the boy, support the channel, and if anything, just like and subscribe. That's all I really care about. Much love to you. However, let's continue the video. So, it seems like for today, Blizzard has announced a couple of updates that Wowhead has covered. For Season Discovery, each side, I'm already stuttering, so you know this is a good video. Each side of the Poacher's Cave Tunnel between Searing Gorge and Burning Steps has now an independent cooldown, allowing curious players for a quick return option. Now, they used a big word here, I'm definitely going to stutter. Smoke asphyxiation. If I said that correct, A+ in the comments below. Still prevents more frequent usage than twice an hour. Already stuttering. Now, I saw some little things here. I'm a little excited about two things I will talk about at the end. Druid Moonkin form now also decreases all generated by threat, basically, from nature and arcane spells cast by the Druid by 30%. With Hunters, during the maintenance, the TNT rune now increases explosive trap, and the initial damage basically is increased. And immolation trap periodic damage based on 25% of the Hunter's AP was 50%, so that took a big nerf. It took a half of a percentage of a nerf, from 50 to 25, and it also now uses the higher of melee and range attack power, but was always melee attack power. For mages, fix an issue where the mage healer 2-piece set and molten core set bonus was not working properly, and the benefits of Temporal Beacon will now work properly during the last 6 seconds of its duration when used in this set. They also fixed an issue with the healing for the mage regeneration was not increased by the effects of mage arcane blast. And also for paladins, the Ret Paladin's side now gains a 6% threat reduction per rank of Vengeance talent, but this threat reduction is disabled while Righteous Fury is active. For priests, homunculi will now be less aggressive in seeking nearby targets to fight that the priest is not in combat with. And for rogues, the rogue 6-piece set can no longer trigger incorrectly from sebaceous poison. And for warriors, Konsu should now always speak the correct line when the players are victorious. Now, the two things I'm really excited about mainly here is Druid's Moonkin form and Paladin's threat reduction. Basically, these two specs had big issues in Season of Discovery when it came to threat issues, especially from tanks. I've always had two problems with two specs. Me, including myself, as a Ret Paladin, ripping issues with Holy Threat was completely busted. I've experienced this in Nomer. You guys know me too, when I had my logs when I was like rank 10 in Season Discovery in Phase 2. In the world, by the way, remember that. Don't get packed up. However, though, when I was rank 10, and the Holy Threat registered me as a damn tank, alright? And it was even busted when I was ripping it from my initial tanks, and they were already, I already had a prop paladin, and I already had people doing tank stuff, and warlock stuff, and druid stuff, and I was still ripping threat. So it's a bit of an issue. Holy Threat was busted, but the same thing happened with Moonkins. There was a big issue where the nature and arcane spells were causing too much threat issues as well. So druids had that same problem, just as paladins, and it seems like they're finally addressing that. Those are the two biggest things. With a third thing I will say is finally they answered the damn things with the homunculi with priests. That's something that I've been noticing for a while. I'm happy they finally addressed that, fixed that, and starting to take that a little bit more serious for once, because that's a good change right there. Much love to you over there at the SOD dev team. Don't get packed up, all right? Much love to you though. But yeah, besides that, the Hunter one's okay. Obviously, Hunters are really strong right now in Season of Discovery, but those are the main things I'm really caring about in terms of like the PvE side of things. I think that is pretty cool. But as far as Wowhead articles go, that's all we have for articles for today. There's actually a lot of other things that I want to discuss with you guys. So I wrote down some notes. Your boy was a good boy for once. I actually did some homework, and I went through a lot of things that I was really curious about in Ironforge Pro, because I know we use this website for, log data, and obviously people are saying, hey, Tello, that's not all the player base. There's obviously some players that don't log. Well, let me be the bearer of, bad news for you if I have to be. But majority of the people that will raid with you, one person is more than likely doing these logs. I've mentioned this in the past before, and that statement still holds true, and I stand by my word. Because at the end of the day, more people are logging than whether you don't want people doing logs or not. People are doing a log, and they're still uploading it, which is going to register on this website, right? So, at the end of the day, we go on this website to use it as an example more than anything. So the one thing I did use for this website that I've noticed is that, the SOD population right now, if you look at the numbers, which we're going to be showing screenshots here now, it's not too bad. We're almost at 76,000 concurrent players on Season of Discovery. Obviously, a lot of people are, still in the hype and the honeymoon phase of Phase 4, doing raid logs, getting, through Molten Core, and getting all their, even if they're still in their pre-bis, people are still grinding and playing the game in the open world, doing the events, and doing some BGs, right? We'll talk about that in a second. But overall, though, the game is in a pretty okay state. Like, it's being played, people are enjoying SOD for what it's worth, and they're doing their logs, right? The one thing I did notice, however, is that my server in particular is around 7,000 players, which is okay. I will say, though, back in the day, Living Flame had way more players, and when the server transfer happened with Wildgrowth a long time ago, which is crazy, it seems like it was just yesterday when that happened, it kind of did mess up our server, I'm not going to lie. We had way more players on our server at one point, and now we're only around 7K, which is something I'll take, because that's better than what we were at last phase when we were only at 4K, almost 3K. It was looking real grim, I'm not going to lie to you. But besides that, though, I will say, I'm very happy that Season Discovery is being played, and I really want it to thrive and continue being played by a lot of players that enjoy the game. And no matter what that I have to say, or anyone has to say, or any content creator that you listen to might have to say, or even your own friends, you are playing the game at the end of the day for your enjoyment. You're not playing it for, others' enjoyment or others' opinions. You're playing it for your damn self. Remember that. It doesn't matter what anybody says, or any people that want to say that the game's dog shit, or they're dooming on it, or they're saying the game is overhyped or whatever. If you're having fun, have fun. You can have fun whatever you want to have fun with. You're a human being at the end of the day. Don't let others' opinions stir your decisions. So that's just some little wisdom for you, okay? So wisdom in the chat. Much love to you. But let me give you some reality on some things, all right? So, I did some data, and, I was looking into it, and just, well, not super much data, basic math, okay? Let's settle down. I'm not no freaking super analytical person when it comes to, obviously, these basic charts, right? But I did do some backwork and, on my end, looking through, some Google search data analytics, and just seeing, concurrent numbers and stuff, and obviously using their stuff, all right? So, no crazy expertise shit going on, but some basic stuff. And what I've seen here is that, obviously, with our players having only 7K players, I've noticed that around January, February, where the game obviously lost a lot of steam, right, and, the game started to pick up, around, the Phase 2, around Phase 3, and started to really fall off. Even when the hype that it had, Phase 3 had its issues in the beginning with Sunken Temple, but you could tell right around, I would say, March is when it has its highest player base of around 328,000 players playing the game, actively playing the game. Like, this was a crazy number, not where it once was, don't get me wrong, but for the game to still be being played at this level, for, 2 to 3 phases deep in, this was a pretty good number, right? And I was like, okay, well, SOD is still being played. People are still enjoying the game. No matter what, it has its issues, but it's still being played. But now we are obviously at 75,000 players. What does this mean? Well, this means that we've lost more than 253,000, around that number, give or take, players from Season of Discovery since March. And that's only been 4 or 5 months at this point going in, and that's pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. From a player's perspective, or even a content creator's perspective, you know, even making content for the game, that's pretty rough. That's pretty grim. And I understand why, you know, people, you know, want to switch to different games or take different avenues or different routes. I respect that 100%. It makes sense at the end of the day for any creator, including myself, if I ever had to one day switch to another game and cover content, you know, just to do stuff that I like doing and not stick around for like a game that might be on a very bad downwards trend. I totally get that, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you know, if a game's not giving something back to you, you can't keep putting back all your love and energy into it, because if you're not getting it, it's a two-way street. It's like a love thing, you know what I mean? If you love the game and the game's not loving you back, it's not a good look. I'm not gonna lie to you. However, though, I still love Season of Discovery, and I'm still covering content on it, damn it. So nobody say that I'm quitting SOD or anything like that. You will get packed up. I said what I said. However, though, yes, it did take a massive hit, is what I'm getting at. And I am concerned in the long run of how far Season of Discovery is going to go after The War Within comes out, also after BWL comes out, and then, you know, we got Zul'Gurub, and how far at that point is Season of Discovery going to last with its concurrent player base. It'll always have its highs and dips when it comes to, you know, launches and releases, but obviously we all know what happens after a couple weeks. We all know what happens after a couple months, and then things eventually go to an all-time low until something else is announced and something else is more hype, right? And that's just the way that things naturally work. You can't stop that. We all know this. But besides that, let's take, you know, a turn into a more lighter subject, something that I really want to see with Season of Discovery. Now, whatever happened to, you know, things that were talked about, you know, long ago with, you know, Scarlet Monastery being raid, right? I really thought we were going to get something with that, and maybe that's not too far-fetched into the future, but something that I did really like was Demonfall Canyon. I really enjoyed the fact that, you know, Demonfall Canyon was an enjoyable dungeon, so to say. I gave it about a 6 or a 7 my first time around, but as I kept playing through it, I was like, you know what? I kind of enjoyed this dungeon. I enjoy the mechanics of these bosses, and it's not just something you just 100% steamroll all the time. Obviously, if you get your best in slot gear, then yes, you could steamroll it, but in the beginning with Prebis, it was a little bit of a challenge, and I still like doing the mechanics on their bosses. They're, you know, they're very simple, very fun. You got to change your runes around for different things, and I enjoy it for the most part. Now, this, you know, gives me to the point or where basically my next subject is at hand, so forgive me if I stutter, guys, you know me, but I was very curious if we were ever going to see anything with Hearthglen, if we were ever going to see maybe something of a dungeon over there in that area. I know for my paladins, you're very familiar with the items on screen here if you follow the In the Dreams quest line, and you get a lot of, you know, different little Prebis options, or, you know, very good items that you can use at the time being until you get a better item. And there's a lot of high-level enemies over there that from the Scarlet Crusade that I was like, you know what, I don't know, back in the day I was theory crafting with some friends and saying this area could be used for a raid, or this area can be used for a higher level dungeon. In each different little quarter or area, there's like, you know, a mini boss that is strong and drops, you know, some cool loot or some cool, you know, cosmetics or whatever, you know. All I'm saying is I think this would be a nice area for a new dungeon in general. And another area that comes to mind for a new dungeon would be Tyr's Hand. And Tyr's Hand, I would think this would be a really cool place to have another area for a dungeon with the Scarlet Crusade as well. If you're a paladin as well, you know, over there you get your holy specialization rune from that little library area. But besides that, I think this would be a nice little spot for like a mini dungeon with some high level bosses in each little, you know, quarter of the area, whether in the library or you know, the halls, etc. I think these small little spots on the map, to turn them into dungeons, would spice up Season of Discovery, just to give something different, show some different results, show the player base that, wow, we're doing little different things with areas we've never seen before within the Plague Lands, you know, both west and east, right? And just, you know, spice up the end game a little bit with some of these spots. You know, I think it would be really interesting to see more, you know, unique 60 level dungeons that have more pre-bis options or more bis options involved within the game, like they did with Demonfall Canyon over there within the Plague Land area on the, you know, Eastern Kingdom
items. I think it would be very unique and very cool overall. They can even do some stuff over there in Kalmador as well. But I'm just saying, this is just a figure of speech, and I just want to know what you guys think about this potential idea if we would ever to get something like that, or maybe in the future, if they, don't give us that, maybe a Scarlet Monastery raid in general. I really would love us to visit Scarlet Monastery, because I think all the bosses in Scarlet Monastery, hands down, is not only one of the most fun dungeons to do with your friends, late night gaming and just casually chilling, having a drink, whatever. It's a vibe. It really is. And all the bosses in there are cool and fun to go through with all your buds and getting some previous options before you hit, like, obviously your high 40s, and then you venture off into, Desolus, or you go into Mara, right? But besides that, I really think SM is a fun place, and it would be really cool if they did something with, an Ashbringer quest line, or if they, maybe, obviously not getting Ashbringer itself, but maybe if there was more lore to it, more discussion about it, and obviously if we had all the bosses from each quarter of Scarlet Monastery be combined into one area where you have to fight all these bosses, and they have different unique mechanics, almost similar to like a Four Horsemen style thing in Naxxramas. It would be very cool to see what they would do with Scarlet Monastery overall, something I always hoped and always wished for, but unfortunately we haven't seen it yet. So this is a big hope. Obviously, maybe it's some copium, and I'm praying one day this does come, but it is what it is. This is just something that I'm theory crafting with you guys below, and let me know your thoughts and what you think about it. However, though, going into a more lighter topic as well, just to chill out and talk a little bit. So, the one thing I did notice is that right now at the concurrent moment, Battlegrounds and PvP in general is kind of right now. I'm not gonna lie to you and sit here and say that, PvP is at an all-time high state in Season of Discovery. In my opinion, I think PvP inside is kind of mediocre. This is being truthful, because obviously right now, until we're at the very end game, where you have all the best items in slot and everything is set in stone, you don't really get to explore the entirety of your class until you have everything set in stone, right? But I will say that PvP in Phase 1 was very fun. It was very special. We're learning new things. We're getting different runes and stuff like that. We're discovering the systems in place. That's what made Phase 1 PvP so fun. But right now, currently, PvP in Season of Discovery is still kind of on the weekend, I will say, of things. And there are things, especially, on my end, where I look from it from a paladin perspective, where there are things that we're missing that we just don't have right now because we're limited due to ranks. So, for example, which I'll show you guys right here, is that on 60 upgrades, right? Obviously you'll see your rank 13, your field marcher set, which would give you normally, your 21 stam, your 21 strength, and your 20 intellect. But we're more on the limited end right now of what we can get from rank 8 to rank 10, where we're capped out right now for, if you wanted to go more on the ret side, you would do like 27 stam, 16 strength, or if you were more on the inside, maybe with using shock and awe or shock eye builds, depending on how you wanted to play it, you have more stam intellect based gear. But the problem from a paladin perspective, and obviously, as a paladin, I always talk about paladin stuff. I'm going to bring it up in a video, so bear with me. But basically what I'm getting at is that we are limited to having intellect on ret gear, which severely hurts mana pools, which our mana pools are not looking good whatsoever. It's a big reason why a lot of paladins get out of mana really fast, or you go really quick because you're going for a big heal. Plus, another big issue is that the ability of having to stand still while healing, it hurts a lot, because a lot of counter maneuvers can happen to you when you're not being on the mobile, when you're not being mobile about your movement, on how you're playing the game, whether you're trying to create distance or someone's trying to kite you out or close the gap, etc. But the biggest problem right now is what I'm getting at is that we are lacking intellect on our gear, which we won't be able to get until later on, when eventually you get to the higher rank tier sets where you get stam, strength, and intellect. And at the concurrent moment, there is no stam or strength, stam, intellect combination at this time. Now, I do think that is something for other classes as well, that they might be having issues with their PvP gear, and maybe what we want to see to spice up PvP, in my opinion, since right now at the current moment, the only PvP that's being played is either the the event or Alterac Valleys, it's very hard to find Warsaw Gulch or Arathi Basin games. If you find a queue, it takes several minutes. Normally as Alliance back then, with last phase or even the phase before, obviously because AV wasn't out, you would find these queues much faster, but a lot of these other queues are starting to die out. So what I'm basically getting at is I think it would be cool if Blizzard ever decided to either A, add a new battleground, or B, add some other rewards to these other game modes so it can make it worth playing Warsaw Gulch still, or making it worth playing Arathi Basin. Give your PvP player base, because there is a player base out there for Season of Discovery that is a very strong PvP community, and I respect to the PvP community amigos out there that enjoy PvP no matter what, even though Season of Discovery is not the best form of PvP in World of Warcraft in my opinion. But overall though, I still give respect where respect is due, and I think there should be some kind of support for, some kind of new battleground or some kind of new rewards to add a want and need to play other BGs that are no longer being played. That's just my opinion, and obviously appropriate stats with some, better itemization on these PvP items in general for classes or specs that may seem to be struggling in certain areas, besides even Paladins alone. Any classes that might be having issues with PvP items where they see, like, maybe I don't need these PvP items, I'll just go for PvE stuff. So that's all I'm basically getting at. Nothing crazy, nothing serious, but that's what I want to let you guys know. So, and another topic that we want to discuss today as well. Now, one thing that this is something I vouched for a while now is that I really feel like vendors and catch-up gear at the Emerald Wardens and the STV vendor severely need to be looked at and supported, in my opinion. I think the Emerald Wardens, like, we got all these chips, all this stuff, we got exalted really fast with them. Some people can't get exalted fast with them any longer because obviously not a lot of people are spamming incursions anymore, but there needs to be something done with those vendors. Like, I'm not a fan of, like, completing something and then forgetting it and then it's gone in the past. I don't mind doing that all the time, but for a game that's an MMO and, something that I felt like we did so quick and nothing is being utilized with those vendors anymore, I feel like it's just, something needs to be changed. Well, whether the Emerald Warden vendor is changed to undermine reels or the STV vendor is changed to undermine reels, I think that could be a good change. And now whether you add some more gear options to your Emerald Wardens or your STV vendor is completely up to Blizzard's end for any catch-up gear mechanic for other classes or other players getting involved with the game to find some other items, maybe some pre-bis items for lower end classes. I know they did something with Azeroth Commerce where you added the account bound rings and stuff like that. So I'm thinking about something like, either some type of style of account bound gear or something that just gives them some basic stats to give them some small little options to make up some catch-up gear to then get to their pre-bis, to then get to their bis. Now, I obviously know what you guys are going to say. There's already options in auction houses. There's already stuff to do in quests. I'm just giving them another solution to what they can do with these vendors to give some type of life to them, because honestly there's not any talk about it whatso at all in general. I've looked around, I've talked around, there is no conversation about these vendors and they're just forgotten about. So even if I come up with a dumbass decision, at least I'm sparking a conversation so that something better can happen from it, and somebody would have been maybe a better intellectual mind, since I'm lacking in already on my gear in PvP, can come up with some shit already. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm basically getting at. As long as I spark the conversation, some more smarter folks by me can come up with some better ideas, and that's what I like to do, is create the conversation. And I think that's something that needs to be done. I already talked and added them on Twitter. I got no response, so maybe better luck to you guys. But if they hear me out, they hear me out. It is what it is. I would like to see undermine reels at the STV vendor and Emerald Wardens in general. I think it would, be a better bang for buck for people grinding and stuff and doing stuff like that. That's just my opinion, so let me know in the comments below. However, though, on a final thought, what I recommend, obviously, guys, for Season of Discovery and always talking with, the game and myself, with your friends, etc., is being communicative, is, talking, via forums, talking via social media, whether it's Twitter. I obviously have the, the stuff here on the screen, you guys will see with, how to contact them on Twitter with their new classic dev, on Twitter, and also, just, being vocal. That's the best thing you can do, guys, because that's the only way they're ever going to hear, the player base out, is by being honest and having, a good take about things and something they might, consider. And I think that's the only way as a community will ever or come across a way of trying to make the game better by, being supportive and having these, intellectual conversations with one another and just go from there. So that's basically about it for the video today. That was a lot to discuss. I feel like I covered a lot of things. I'm making sure on my list I didn't forget anything. I don't think I did. I think everything is good. I'm just checking the list out. But yeah, that's about it, guys. I think that's all I had to discuss. Much love to you. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's hot as balls as usual. Yeah, forgive me for my language, for my cussing, but it is hot. It's humid, as always. I don't know if this humidity will ever go away. I'm praying for fall already. Get me to Michael Myers and Halloween. Spooky, spooky bump in the night action. Oh, by the way, I saw Deadpool and Wolverine. Not bad. Touche. Pretty good film. Besides that, I'll catch you on the next one. Keep on keeping on, shine on. Much love to all y'all amigos. And, take care, why don't ya? I used to use this mouse when I played Valorant. I was a demon on that game. I'm not gonna lie. I almost hit, what was it, Ascendant? And then I kind of stopped. Y'all should have saw me on the clicks, though. My little Yoru. I threw a little blind, a little sword action, and then I was sucking some... Alright, sometimes I get a little too hentai about shit. My fault. Alright, I'm gonna get packed up and somebody put me in the deli aisle.